Libra, you didn't deserve this ingratitude. Be careful. You think you know what ingratitude is. You think it's about someone not saying thank you, not acknowledging what they received, not valuing what was there. But what if the ingratitude that Libra harbors wasn't primarily directed towards others? There's something within Libra, a belief so deep, so integrated into the way it functions, that it can rarely see it from the outside, that creates the perfect conditions for ingratitude to take root, not because Libra is weak, not because it doesn't value itself, but because it learned at some point in life that it probably doesn't even remember clearly, that maintaining harmony was worth more than confrontation, that giving was safer than asking, that smiling and resolving things was safer than saying, I also need something here. And people learned this about Libra without her consciously teaching it, and they started to expect it, and then to demand it, and then to not even realize anymore what they were receiving. In this video, I'm not going to tell you to stop giving. I'm not going to tell you that you're too good for the world. You've heard that before, and you know that's not how it really works. What I'm going to show you is the invisible mechanism, the internal system that Libra operates without realizing it, which makes ingratitude almost inevitable in certain relationships, and which only changes when Libra decides to look at it honestly. You'll recognize yourself here, and when that happens, something will make sense in a way it never has before. There's something about Libra that almost no one talks about out loud. Not because it's a secret, but because it's too difficult to name. You'll feel it now as I speak. And if you're a Libra, or if you've ever loved one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Libras don't give out of weakness. They give because they believe in a way that goes beyond reason, that what you give to the world creates balance, that the care you offer returns in some way, that if you bring beauty and harmony to the world responds in kind. This belief is beautiful. It's profound, but it has a silent flaw that Libra has carried for years without realizing it, a flaw that only appears when someone takes everything it has offered and simply walks away, without saying thank you, without acknowledging it, without even looking back. And Libra stands still, scales in hand, asking herself, what happened? But the right question isn't what happened. The right question is, why didn't I see it sooner? Because Libra sees. They always have. This is one of the most misunderstood secrets of this sign, that Libra is not naive. They are in fact one of the most perceptive people in the zodiac. They sense imbalance before anyone else in the room. They realize when the other person is taking more than they are giving, when their care is not being reciprocated, when the relationship is leaning to one side. She knows, and that's how it stays. Why? The answer isn't simple. It doesn't fit into a cliché about self-esteem. What happens within Libra is much more subtle, much older, much more connected to how it learned to exist in the world. At some point in life, perhaps too early, Libra discovered that maintaining harmony was safer than disturbing it, that giving was more predictable than asking, that if she softened her tone, found the middle ground, yielded a little here and there, things worked better. There was less friction, less pain, and the world rewarded her for it. People called Libra generous, understanding, mature, and she liked that. Of course she liked it. Libra thrives on connection, on harmony, on being the person who makes others feel good. But here's what nobody noticed, not even she herself. This pattern created a silent expectation. People began to expect Libra's care as something given, not something offered. They began to rely on her patience without asking if she still had patience to give. They began to take the harmony she built as if it were nature, not work, and Libra continued, building, smoothing, giving, until they reach what is perhaps the most specific and lonely experience a Libra can have, the moment when they realize they did absolutely everything they could for someone, and that someone will never acknowledge it, not because they don't know, but because they don't want to know, because people who don't recognize what they receive don't do it out of carelessness. They do it because they found someone who will continue giving without expecting anything in return. Someone who will swallow their ingratitude so as not to break the harmony. Someone who will interpret their silence as a lack of communication, not as a deliberate choice. Libra is that someone. And somewhere inside her, in a layer she rarely visits, she carries a question she has never asked aloud. What if I don't deserve more than this? This question remains unanswered, It remains unresolved. It vibrates in the air like a string that has been plucked and still trembles. And if you've gotten this far feeling this way inside, if there was something in that sentence that resonated with you in a way you recognize, then it's worth pausing for a second before continuing. It was while searching for answers to this question that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign Towards a Life of Purpose. This book isn't about astrology in a decorative sense. It was created for someone like Libra, for someone who has spent too much time caring for the balance of others and never stopped to check their own. For someone who has given so much that they no longer know where what they offer ends and what they truly want begins. It's not a product, it's a mindset. A tool for Libra to learn to distinguish between what they genuinely choose to give and what they give because they still believe that needing to give is enough to deserve being there. You are currently in a specific state, still processing, still with that question echoing, what if I don't deserve more than this? And this is exactly the moment to act. Not later, not when you have more clarity. Now, while the discomfort is still active, because this kind of recognition fades quickly, we push it down, deal with other things, postpone it, and then we spend even more time waiting for something that will never balance out. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And in the comments, tell me something. Have you ever realized at some point that you were giving everything to someone who never really intended to reciprocate? What opened your eyes? There's an emotional math that Libra does in silence, an internal accounting that she never shows to anyone, but that's always active, always operating in the background. She knows, with a precision that is sometimes frightening, who gave what in each relationship, who showed up when things got tough, who disappeared without warning, who received without giving back, who only said thank you when it was convenient to do so. She has that record, complete, up-to-date, accurate. And what's disturbing, genuinely disturbing, is that Libra doesn't use this register to protect herself. She uses it to keep trying to find balance, to understand the other person, to find an explanation that makes sense, to convince herself that maybe next time it will be different. Maybe he was going through something. Maybe she didn't communicate what she needed to well. Maybe, like an old pharmacy scale, those metal ones, with millimeter precision, that senses the weight of every gram, that never makes a mistake, but whose operator refuses to announce the result aloud. Because announcing the result means confrontation, and confrontation for Libra means disturbance, and disturbance is exactly what she has spent her entire life trying to avoid. Then she silences the result, and the recording continues, and it is in this silence, in this space between knowing and not acting, that the deepest ingratitude usually takes root. It doesn't arrive shouted, it doesn't arrive dramatically, it arrives quietly, slowly, with the familiarity of something that has been there for a long time. A message that went unanswered for days, an enormous effort that went unnoticed. A presence built with care and attention which the other person didn't even notice until it ceased to exist. A gesture that Libra made with everything they had and which was received as if it were the bare minimum expected. Do you know how much that hurts? Not the fight, not the argument where at least there's a chance to be heard. This hurts in a different way. It's the specific pain of having acted with care and intention, of having done the right thing, of having been present and discovering that for the other person, it simply didn't matter. Not because they didn't notice, because they chose not to notice. It's the pain of being invisible within something you built with your own hands. Libra swallows it. She finds a justification for the other person, a circumstance that softens the ingratitude, an angle that smooths over what happened. She reworks the equation in a way that still makes sense to continue, and she continues. But inside, the scale is registering every gram, and there's something even deeper in this pattern, something Libra rarely allows to surface. Because at the heart of it all, beneath the patience, beneath the generosity, beneath the effort to keep everything in balance, there's a belief that was planted too early and never honestly examined. Libra believes they can fix things, that if they are good enough, kind enough, patient enough, the other person will wake up, they will see what they are receiving, they will reciprocate, the scales will balance. She's not waiting for naivete, she's waiting for faith. It's like a child who continues to water a dead plant with all the seriousness in the world, not because they don't see that the plant no longer responds, but because they're not yet ready to accept that watering won't change that. That there are things that don't bloom no matter how much care you put into them. And here's the hardest question of all. What happens when Libra finally stops watering? Every Libra has that moment, that breaking point that no one sees coming from the outside. Because Libra was so precise in appearing well, so careful in maintaining external harmony, so skillful in smiling while processing, in continuing to build while the internal structure was cracking, that when the rupture happens it seems sudden to everyone around. Except for her. For Libra, this moment was the inevitable result of a reckoning she knew she would settle. She was there when the rope began to stretch. She felt every increase in tension. She endured more than she should have, for longer than was reasonable, with more grace than anyone had any right to expect of her. And then it arrived, not necessarily an explosion. Libra rarely explodes, at least not in the way others expect. What happens is quieter and infinitely more definitive. A coldness that isn't anger, that isn't resentment in the common sense. It's the suspension of faith, the decision almost without words, almost without drama, to stop watering what will never bloom. It's like a violin string stretched beyond its limit. When it breaks, it no longer vibrates. It falls silent. And the silence of Libra, when it truly arrives, when it has crossed that line and will not return, it is one of the most absolute things that exist in the zodiac. Because Libra is capable of loving with a depth and patience that few people possess. But they are also capable of ending things with a frightening clarity. When they decide it's over, it's not drama, it's certainty. A cold, serene and irrevocable certainty. And the question that remains after all this, after the rupture, after the silence, after the dust has settled, is one that Libra rarely asks itself. What did this coldness teach me about who I am when I stopped taking care of everyone? What you're recognizing now, that boundary that exists within Libra, that point where faith becomes certainty and patience becomes closure, is exactly the kind of truth that the digital book, The Divine Path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, explores with an honesty that few things achieve. It won't ask you to stop feeling. It will show you how Libra can use this clarity, this deep knowing about who deserves to be on the side where you place the most weight, as a life tool, not as a burden. Availability is limited. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Libra has developed over the years a skill that few people notice from the outside, the ability to appear well when they are not. It's not exactly faking it. It's something more subtle, a prioritization. Libra decides, often completely unconsciously, that the moment isn't right to show their pain, that there's something more urgent to resolve, someone who needs more attention, a situation that will worsen if they let what they're feeling show. And then she smiles. She softens the atmosphere. She does what she has always done, creates harmony around her while imbalance operates freely within. From the outside, an elegant shop window, always well arranged, always with something beautiful displayed. Inside, the lights are off, the silence of someone who keeps more than they show, and there's something very lonely about that. Not the loneliness of being alone. Libras are rarely physically alone and they know it. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people who feed off your presence, who depend on your care, who find comfort in your harmony, but who have never stopped to ask, how are you really? That simple question. That small thing. Libra rarely listens, because the people around her learned, without her consciously teaching them, that Libra always manages, that she doesn't need support, that she solves problems, that her balance somehow stabilizes itself, that she is strong, that she is capable, that she doesn't need anyone holding her by the shoulder. And Libra, because it's Libra, let them believe that, because showing vulnerability seems to shift the burden onto the other person. Because asking for help seems to destabilize the harmony she worked so hard to build. Because for Libra, caring has always been much more natural than being cared for, and she never stopped to examine why. There is something Libra guards with a care that goes beyond discretion. It's not just pain, it's not just accumulated resentment, it's something more fundamental, more silent, more difficult to face head-on. It's the question of what she truly deserves, not what she says she deserves. Not what she would say in a conversation about self-esteem. What she believes at the deepest level, when no one is watching, when the shop window is closed, when harmony doesn't need to be maintained, when she's alone with herself in the silence of the early morning. What does Libra believe in this silence about its own worth? The answer to that question is what changes everything. And now we arrive at the strangest and truest place of all this. Those who were ungrateful to Libra taught them something that no balanced relationship, no reciprocal exchange, no well-given love could teach. Think about it. In relationships where Libra received what it gave, where there was real exchange, genuine recognition, and reciprocated care, it functioned in its most fluid way. It gave, it received, it balanced. It was beautiful. It was safe. But in these relationships, Libra was never forced to ask, what am I worth? What am I beyond what I offer? Because the value was being constantly confirmed. She didn't need to look for it within. It came from outside, reflected in the other. It was in relationships marked by ingratitude with people who took without giving back, who ignored what she had built, who treated her care as an obligation and her patience as an unlimited resource, that Libra was forced for the first time to truly question this. It's like a mirror that only reveals its reflection clearly when it's dirty. You need to clean it to see yourself. And in that process, uncomfortable, sometimes painful, sometimes angry, you learn the exact shape of your own face. Not the version you show to the world, the real version. Ingratitude forced Libra to ask a question that admiration never did. Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when I'm not caring? When I'm not building harmony? When I'm not being the person who makes everything work? What's left of me when I stop giving? And discovering the answer to that question, the real answer, without euphemisms, without the gentle version Libra tells herself, changes something that cannot be undone. Because who Libra truly is when no one is watching, when the shop window is closed, when they're not in their role as peacemaker and caregiver, that person is more whole, stronger, wiser than any image the world has constructed of them. Libra's value has never been in what it offers. It has always been in who it is when it stops offering. And this distinction, this fine, fundamental line between being generous and being used, between giving by choice and giving out of fear of what happens when she stops, is what Libra is finally beginning to draw for herself. Ingratitude robbed Libra of nothing. It revealed something that comfort never could. This paradox, ingratitude as a mirror, the wound that reveals what praise never showed, is the kind of truth that the digital book, the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, translates into something Libra can use. Not just understand, use, because recognizing the pattern is the beginning, but transforming it into a new way of existing in the world, of giving with power and not with fear, of clearly choosing who deserves the best of you. This requires more than recognition. It requires direction. The content may be taken offline. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And now, at the end of it all, there is one thing that needs to be said carefully, with the kind of care that Libra has always deserved and not always received. Libra has always known how to care, always known how to see what was missing, always known how to fill the gaps, always known how to make the other person feel seen, valued, at peace. This gift is real. This ability is extraordinary. But there is one scale that she has been carrying for years without checking it with the same attention she gives to all the others, her own. For how long did Libra tend to everyone else's garden while her own went thirsty? For how long did she orchestrate the balance of others without stopping to ask, is anyone tending to mine? Is anyone watering this too? Ingratitude hurts. This is real and doesn't need to be minimized or turned into a lesson too quickly. You didn't deserve that. The neglect you received didn't reflect your worth. It reflected the limitations of those who couldn't or didn't want to see what was right in front of them. But there is something even more true than the injustice of what happened. You deserve more than you waited for, more than you swallowed in silence, more than you accepted with that smile of someone who understands, when in reality you were just trying not to destabilize what the other person needed to remain standing. The most important balance in your life isn't in the hands of the person you loved. It never was. It has always been yours, and only you can operate it with the precision it demands. When Libra begins to weigh itself with the same care it has devoted to every relationship, every person, every detail around it, something changes. Not suddenly, not dramatically, not with a declaration made aloud to no one in particular, She changes from within quietly, with the solidity of someone who has finally stopped waiting for balance to come from the outside. Someone who realized that the harmony she always sought in others, she carried within herself all along. Libra has always known how to balance the world. Perhaps now is the time to find balance within yourself,